welcome to Switched on IT. I'm Barry. This is the show where we talk about all things IT. In the last episode of this show, Ray and Doug talked about mobile SEO. If you watched that show, you would have picked up some really interesting tips about SEO, and particularly on SEO of your mobile site. Don't forget that if you missed that show, you can always go back and see it again on our Catch Up TV section. Just go to the Switched on IT section in the Catch Up TV and you can watch all of these episodes again. Today, Ray and Doug are going to talk about Instagram. Instagram, as I understand it, is a growing platform. I think you'll find that in the content of today's episode, you'll hear that Instagram is actually growing faster than Facebook is. Today is all about Instagram. We have our regular hosts, Doug and Ray, with us today. Doug and Ray, we'll turn this over to you now. Please take it away for us.
Thanks, Barry, and good morning, Ray, or good evening as it is for you in where are you at the moment? Virginia, Washington?
I'm in Washington, D.C., but good morning to you.
Thanks, Ray. So we're talking Instagram today, which is it's a massive topic. I guess maybe what we can do is we can start with the role of Instagram in my online marketing strategy. Is it something that I'm going to use to generate instant orders, or is it a brand strategy? How do you see the role of Instagram, and does it sort of relate more to B2C, or is it quite happily live in a B2B environment? What's your thoughts, Ray?
I think that it's equally good for all of those audiences. B2B and B2C are seeing remarkable growth in the Instagram space, and I think it's just a matter of fact that because so many people are joining Instagram, and this is not as big of an issue as it might sound, but there are a lot of people who are leaving Facebook. I mean, when you have that many users, you're going to have some level of churn. It seems like more people are leaving Facebook than are joining, and those people are migrating to Instagram. So in essence, Facebook isn't losing anything. They own Instagram, but there are more people now joining Instagram, and we see a lot of businesses adapting and adopting to that change by jumping over to Instagram. So it's a B2C marketer's paradise, and it's a B2B marketer's paradise, at least at the present moment.
Okay, that's interesting. So we don't need to be B2B or B2C. We can be either. And in terms of the immediate results from Instagram, is it the sort of product where we can generate instant sales, or do you see it more as part of the brand building and the brand identity strategy?
What we're going to be talking about in this episode, and probably in the next episode, is more a brand building and organic approach, and that will take some time before you start to see sales. Just like any good social media strategy, if you don't have a sales strategy to support that, then all the social media marketing, as they say, in my world, I call that community building. If you're not building a community, it takes time for a community to gel, to come together and really establish itself. And if you don't have that community yet, it's going to take time for you to be able to build the community. And then otherwise, you have to have a sales strategy to support that. If you're the type of business, and there are a few businesses where you can simply advertise on any platform and make sales, then we can obviously see that can provide benefit to you. And we'll do a separate episode on Instagram advertising. But the reality is we're really focused on that organic approach, the community building that's necessary so that you can make best advantage of a platform like Instagram, because it is a very strong community building platform.
Terrific. So we've decided to build our brand, and we see Instagram as playing a key role in that. So now we have to create, I guess, some content and post it. What are the different sort of purposes and types of posts and content that are out there? Can you give us a little bit of a sense of how we use that and how we develop the content that we need there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea of us talking about the types of posts before we talk about the fundamental structure of Instagram. So we'll get to that, just in case you think we're not discussing that. But I think talking about the posts is really important. And so know that there are many different ways in which you can post to Instagram, and each of them relates to a different way in which you can tell your business's story. So think about this from a thematic perspective. If you think about a novel or science fiction movies or anything like that, they always have some kind of broader theme beyond just the the plot that's going to be driving, or the driving force behind the narrative. So your business has a brand. There is likely an industry in which it's in which there's a context. Sometimes there's a value system that the business has, and that's being affected by industry and government. That's being affected by the direct customers, your stakeholders, your vendors, and your staff and employees as well. So you want to make sure that each of those stories are being told within the same Instagram profile. Typically, you might have multiple Instagram profiles, but typically you have one, and you need to figure out how that all happens. So as we discuss the different types of posts, start to think which level that particular post type might fit into the narrative of the story. So the most basic post on Instagram is the photo post. That is either a square or a portrait style that is a long post, one that is longer than it is wide. And those posts are just an image. It's a photo of anything. And so you can take photos. You can again, they can be square or they can be rectangular, but rectangular in the portrait sense. The ones that are wider than they are taller just don't look good in the platform, and many times they'll be rejected. The idea there is that you have an image that will show on on a mobile device, and Instagram is a mobile-first platform. A lot of people don't realize that, but many of the functions that you will want to do can only be done on your mobile device. And at one point in time, you could never even schedule from a desktop your posts. Now you can use tools to schedule on Instagram, but prior to about a year ago, you weren't even able to do that. You had to do everything almost live in real time on your phone. So now you have a little bit more flexibility because you can actually schedule things. But photo posts, which you can then have a video post. Video posts can be up to a minute in length. And so you have these video posts. Again, these are videos that are typically square or portrait, in the sense that they are taller than they are wide. And again, that's because people watch video, or at least younger generations who are what we call digital natives. They've grown up watching video without turning the phone in order to get into landscape mode, right? They just keep the phone in portrait. I am not one of those people. I like turning the phone to landscape, but that just tells my age. And so anyway, the idea is that you have up to a minute of video for those video posts. And then once you have more than one photo or more than one photo and video mixed together, you then have a gallery post. And a gallery post allows you to be able to take multiple types of content, photo and video, and mix it together into one particular one post. I might be mistaken there. Maybe you're only allowed. I thought you were allowed photo and video in that, but you might not be. But you can at least have multiple photos together in one gallery post. And then you get into some more sophisticated and interesting types of posts. So then we have the whole idea of stories. And we'll talk about this in the next episode when we really talk about content strategy and the idea of telling your story and telling the brand story and storytelling through the content of your Instagram profile. But stories are ephemeral posts. They last for 24 hours, and you can have as many stories as you want posted. So each post is called a story, or you can call it a story post, but you can have as many posts in that 24-hour period. They just last for 24 hours and then they disappear. Now, you can have your own profile set to keep all those stories. So say, Doug, you have a profile and you post 45 pictures to your stories over the course of the next 24 hours. Well, after that 24 hours, they'll disappear from the view from which I can see it, but you can set your profile to still see it on that end. And then you can create something called a story highlight, where you can select different story posts and pull them together into kind of a folder that lives on your profile. And that's really important, because now we get to the profile, and your profile has your story highlights. That is any story post that you've collected together into these little new folders, and it has what's called your grid. And your grid is actually a type of curation for your posts. So your grid actually shows a kind of a visual. Think of it as it's 9 photos up at a time. So on the screen you'll see up to 9 photos showing on your display, and in a way, those 9 up show a story by themselves when you see those 9 images together. Have you ever seen one of those photos, Doug, that's been created by taking thousands and thousands of pictures and they kind of morph into somebody's face or into another type of scene?
Sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of the idea here, is that the Instagram grid is a way for you to tell the story through multiple posts when someone comes to your profile. And some people pay a lot of attention to the way in which they post each item so that it shows up in a particular order and has a particular rhyme and reason to the way that it displays. And some are very sophisticated. I mean, I'm way beyond my abilities. And then some of them are very simple, where they post one photo and then one picture, basically a slide that has a quotation on it. And then they'll post another photograph. So every line of their Instagram profile throughout their grid is image, quotation, image, and then maybe a quotation, image, then a quotation again. So it shows this kind of checkerboard style of image. So you can do some really phenomenal things. Some people break up their images. So the 9 up actually creates a much larger image. They get really, really sophisticated. Anyway, the grid is actually another way in which you can do it. And then we have 2 final Instagram types, which is the Instagram Live. Instagram Live allows you to go live on video using your mobile device. So you have to be on your mobile device, whether that be a phone or a tablet, and you have Instagram installed on it, and you just go live. And now you are broadcasting live to everybody who follows you on Instagram. And those people can interact with you. They can ask questions. They can cheer you and send other kinds of little emoji your way to encourage you and to show their reactions. And so you can use this in many, many different types of environments. And then the final format, which is the what's called IGTV. And it's fairly unknown, but Instagram has created, in essence, a mobile video challenger to say YouTube is probably the best next competitor, in the sense that you can record and upload, again, only in portrait video. You can't do it in landscape. You have to do it from your mobile device or restructure it so that it's in portrait. But the idea here is that you can have up to an hour's worth of content in one post. And this is very, very powerful now, because you can create a channel. If you have an Instagram profile, just by virtue of that, you have your own channel. And so you don't have to do anything different in order to have the channel on IGTV. It's its own app, but it's actually also built into the Instagram application as well. So you can install the separate IGTV app. But for example, I had the IGTV app installed, but I just decided to get rid of it because everything's already inside of Instagram. But anyway, the idea is that you open up IGTV and it just starts playing the first video from the first channel you subscribe to, and it just keeps playing them in order over and over again. I think the 1 hour limit is lifted after you have so many followers or so many visits to your channel or something like that. But the idea is that you can have longer form video conversations with your community, and beyond, you have 10-second video posts in Instagram stories and 1 minute long videos in Instagram posts. And now in the IGTV posts, the channel, you're able to post, I think it's 10 minutes to start, and then they go up to an hour. So just by the very nature of the different kinds of Instagram posts, you have a lot of variety in the ways in which you can post and tell your brand story.
So that's interesting. So effectively that's a streaming service that is also recorded, so you can reuse it subsequently, or your followers can access it after the event. So that makes a lot of sense. So the regular video footage that I'm allowed to, so I can upload a photo, I can upload a video, but the video, what did you say the time limit on that was again?
A normal a normal video post is up to a minute.
1 minute. Okay. So yeah, so that might not get you terribly far if what you're communicating about is reasonably involved. So the streaming is basically the next step up from that.
Is your computer driving you crazy? Is it slow or doing things you didn't expect? Well, having a computer crash or pick up a virus can be a complete nightmare for a business, so having someone local you can trust to get you up and running again is critical. The dedicated team of experts at Computer Troubleshooters Toowoomba West will put your mind at ease from the moment you walk through the door and will get your problem solved in no time with a 100% guarantee on their work. Laptops, tablets, PCs, whatever you have, Roger and the team can fix it for you. So visit them today at 236 Bridge Street, Newtown. Can't get in to see them? No worries. Just call them on 4642 1331 and they'll come to you. Toowoomba Troubleshooters Toowoomba West on the web at www.computertroubleshooters.com.au/Toowoomba West.
Hutchies lives here. We're locals, just like you. To us, construction is really about people, not just bricks and concrete. It's people who bring our structures to life and build communities. We stick by the people who make communities. From Toowoomba Rugby League to RACQ Lifelight Rescue Service, Milne Bay Military Challenge, and the Toowoomba Tennis International, Hutchies is proud to back the people who support the region.
Oz Hosting is proud to support Switched On IT in bringing practical help to Australian businesses. We're talking to literally hundreds of businesses every day about their IT services, how to make them more efficient, how to make their businesses more efficient, and how to protect their valuable data. If you'd like your IT services securely hosted right here in Australia and expertly managed, talk to Oz Hosting. Can you tell us a little bit about the use cases that you're seeing for the video and for streaming, where it's getting a lot of positive feedback?
Sure. Right now, at least from the followers, people that I follow, I'm seeing a lot of technology news organizations using Instagram's IGTV as kind of a news magazine. The same thing with Instagram stories. And so what they're doing is similar to the way in which you would have a spread, a layout, or a particular feature article. They're using IGTV as well as Instagram stories to create these kinds of feature-rich articles where certain types of stories will swipe up in order to access new articles or other articles they've covered or different kinds of content. And it's very, very rich. Now, most users who have a small audience will not have access to the swipe up feature that will push you to a link or anything else like that. The only link that you can create in Instagram is the link that is in your Instagram bio, in the profile page itself. And so you're not really capable of using links. Like if you put a link into any post, it's just static text. You can't click on it. For the most part, you can't copy it out easily. It's just static text. So there are no links on Instagram except for the ones that create hashtags. So hashtags are clickable, and hashtags are really the engine, which we'll talk about when we talk about content strategy in the next episode. And so
Ray, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
I have my Instagram open, and we're actually live at the moment on Instagram, and so we're streaming now on the live Instagram the recording of this show so that people can see Instagram working live.
Fantastic.
That's fantastic. That's
okay. I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, so Ray, that's very interesting about links. So when I'm streaming live, because that's, I guess, effectively a post, my followers can watch it. And when they, obviously if I post a photo or a video, again, that's going to display just because of the very fact that it's open in their Instagram account. But the aspect of having links to content, I guess what that really indicates is that Instagram are really working at you never leaving the Instagram platform. And making sure that their commercial customer base, us using it as a communication tool for a business, we don't sort of just push people out of Instagram onto our website or onto other media that is controlled by others. So getting back to you mentioned having links in your bio. So how do we get people to go, for example, from our Instagram feed to our bio? How do you see that working? What are the inducements to get people to go to that and then potentially jump out? And do you think Instagram might interfere with that, because that might be sort of running counter to how they intend the platform to be used?
Yeah, so Instagram's notion is to sell advertising, and the advertising that they sell allows people to then have links through those kinds of ads that generate, revenue for Instagram. So, the idea, they're not incentivized to put links in Instagram. I think that they may never. I think that they'll continue to create different types of ad types that allow for those kinds of links, and that for very large influencers, they'll continue to do that, giving them in Instagram stories the ability to swipe up and so on and so forth, but ads will be the only place where links are allowed. And, they don't want to be like Twitter or even Facebook. Instagram is Facebook owned, but, people try to get people to leave Facebook through clicking on links and posts. And Instagram is a little bit different in the sense that they only give you that one avenue. Now, there are always ways around that. And so now we know that in the profiles, people will have specialized links in their bio, my company does, where it takes you to a page with many different links so that you can go to different posts and things that we've posted before. And there are ways around it. We'll talk about that in the next episode. But to your question, there are a number of ways in which you get people to your bio, and that's through the different ways in which you interact and engage with Instagram. So let's explain that, and then we can close out this episode, and we'll then come back in the next episode next week, and we'll talk about kind of content strategy. So Instagram has a number of different ways in which you can interact with a profile and interact with the content itself. An Instagram profile can be followed, unfollowed. It can also be blocked if you don't want to hear from that person ever again. But the idea is that you have the ability to follow and unfollow profiles. So if I like Oz Hosting, I know that they have an Instagram profile, then I'm going to go out there, I'm going to find the Instagram profile, I'm going to follow that profile. Now I've been activated to be able to engage with all the various types of content that you're going to be posting. Remember that when you go Instagram Live, once you stop going live, that content disappears. It's available to you, the profile holder, but the users who are following you can't see that content unless you republished it somewhere else. And that's the value of the fear marketing, right? The fear of missing out is, oh gosh, if Oz Hosting goes live, we better watch it now before they go off being live, because I can't see it again. And so there's a little bit of that FOMO that gets built up for people who then want to jump onto Instagram Lives. So of course you can comment and emotionally react through the emoji in Instagram Live, but in just normal posts, you're capable of liking. They use hearts, so you can heart something. then you can comment on a post, or you can comment on it and interact and engage with the other people who are commenting on a post. So say a friend goes to a park and takes a picture of some dogs playing in the park, and you happen to be a dog lover, and you write a post about how you also have a Sheltie and really love running around the dog park with your Sheltie. So you can comment and engage with people that way. And so the goal is that you as a business, as you make that content in the posts, you are then engaging them with calls to action. And the calls to action are then to go to your profile. If you activate your Instagram profile as a business profile, that is, you go into Instagram and in the settings, you're capable of activating it as it's free to do. At that point, if you don't have a Facebook page, Instagram will create a Facebook page on the Instagram business profile's behalf. So just be aware of that. If you're trying to synchronize your Facebook account and so on and so forth, don't activate the business profile and then not connect it to the existing Facebook page, because it will do it and create a new one, and then you have to manage around having two Facebook pages all of a sudden if you had one previously. So the idea here though is then you're able to have a call button, an email button, and a directions button to your business in a business profile on Instagram. And voila, there goes the real rub for getting people to come to your business profile, because now you have buttons on your profile that not just lead people to a specific link on your website or to a specific piece of content or a lead magnet, but to directly call you, to email you, to contact you, directly, or to find directions to your business. So as a local business, you really need to focus on how do you drive people to click on those buttons to want to come into your store right now. Very similar to the way in which you're using Instagram Live to use the fear of missing out. What is happening right now? What can people do right now that they're going to drop everything and click on that directions button that's going to open up either Apple Maps or Google Maps or whatever driving direction application they use, and hop in the car and drive to your location. And that's the that ends up being the cream of the crop in terms of being able to make people to influence your potential buyers. But there are a number of other ways that we'll talk about in the next episode about how people can then engage people through the content into engaging with their profile and ultimately becoming a buyer.
Wow. So okay, so that sort of also suggests that there are, I guess, contexts where you can be very much a direct response medium there, where it's directly leading to a sale, because if they're going to respond to that immediate activity, go through to your profile and then click through either to Facebook or to the store, then you're getting closer and closer to closing the loop on a transaction, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. And it's just a matter of figuring out how many touch points does your business need before someone is going to be interested in buying from you. And that determines how much trust is necessary for the transaction in your business and your industry. And those really make much more of a difference. And if you're looking for discount buyers who are going to buy right now and maybe potentially never buy from you again, it's probably pretty easy to make that first sale. But it's going to be much more difficult to create a long-term sustaining community where the business is continually giving back more business if people are just coming and they're fly-by-night customers, or they're just looking for that one discount code or that first discount, using the discount and never coming back again. And that's how a lot of businesses churn through new customers and never really build a good book of business with returning customers. So be mindful of that as you start to go into thinking about an Instagram strategy, because if you're not thinking about community building, then you're not building a very strong, trusting relationship with the buyer.
Okay, and just one final thing before we close off this session: is there a viable number of followers that a business should be looking at for to make the Instagram strategy a worthwhile digital marketing strategy, or does it really depend on just the value of a customer and how many customers you've got and that kind of thing. What's your sense of that?
Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Are there any metrics?
Yeah, I always look at it from the perspective of how much influence you have over the people who are following you. And so acquisition of every new customer and every returning customer's revenues are tantamount. And so looking at sales reports, looking at your both top line revenues but also bottom line profits in terms of how many followers do you need to be bringing on every X number of days or weeks or months in order to be able to convert those few percentage points of customers to actual business. And that's something that, sometimes there are industry standards around that. Most often than not, it's very bespoke to the individual business. And you'll find some businesses that have maybe 200 followers, and that's all the followers they'll ever need. And if they continue to keep bringing on enough to keep that number for the number of people who leave after a period of time. And then there are several that need several thousand a month in order to be able to stay ahead and have enough volume to keep their business running. So it really depends on the business that's coming up to it. And the more commoditized the market, obviously, the more likely you need more followers. And the more integrated and niche your community, the more luxury your community doesn't actually have a specific line between the two. So you have luxury brands with millions of followers, and then you have very high-end luxury brands that have a few hundred followers. So that's not actually a particular line, but we do know that commoditized brands do actually need far more followers than luxury brands. They just luxury is so subjective, whereas toilet paper is just toilet paper. So everybody needs toilet paper, I hope. And so you get that sense that if you're going to follow a brand like Charmin, many people are going to buy from Charmin, and so they need volume in order to be able to keep up their sales. Whereas a very luxury brand, Oscar de la Renta or one of these, Meyer or one of these large fashion brands could have a very small following but still command a very, very large presence based on their activities behind the scenes.
Yeah, understood. Thanks, Ray. That's a terrific summary of the different types of contents, the different types of posts, and how you use them. So I think we'll say we've completed this episode, and let's now prepare for the next episode, where we'll dig into the different types of tools that you've got to help with your content strategy and how you actually create that content strategy. Thanks, Ray. Over to you, Barry.
Thanks, Doug and Ray. That's been a really interesting session. I'm sure that people out there are going to take a lot away from this session and maybe change their minds about Instagram. This has been the first of our sessions on Instagram. Next week, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Instagram again. So this has been Switched on IT for the Power TV network. We'll see you again next week.